Steve Brill did not believe in ghosts or demons. Juan Lopez did. But neither the caution of the one nor the sturdy skepticism of the other was shield against the horror that fell upon them, the horror forgotten by men for more than 300 years, a screaming fear monstrously resurrected from the black, lost ages. Yet, as Steve Brill sat on his sagging stoop that last evening, his thoughts were as far from uncanny menaces as the thoughts of man can be. His ruminations were bitter, but materialistic. He surveyed his farmland, and he swore. Brill was tall, rangy, and tough as boot leather, true son of the iron-bodied pioneers who wrenched West Texas from the wilderness. He was browned by the sun and strong as a long-horned steer. His lean legs and the boots on them showed his cowboy instincts, and now he cursed himself that he had ever climbed off the hurricane deck of his crank-eyed Mustang and turned to farming. He was no farmer, the young puncher admitted profanely. Yet his failure had not all been his fault. Plentiful rain in the winter, so rare in West Texas, had given promise of good crops. But, as usual, things had happened. A late blizzard had destroyed all the budding fruit. The grain which had looked so promising was ripped to shreds and battered into the ground by terrific hailstorms, just as it was turning yellow. A period of intense dryness, followed by another hailstorm, finished the corn. Then the cotton, which had somehow struggled through, fell before a swarm of grasshoppers, which stripped Brill's field almost overnight. So Brill sat and swore that he would not renew his lease. He gave fervent thanks that he did not own the land on which he had wasted his sweat, and that there were still broad rolling ranges to the west, where a strong young man could make his living riding and roping. Now, as Brill sat glumly, he was aware of the approaching form of his nearest neighbor, Juan Lopez, a taciturn old Mexican who lived in a hut just out of sight over the hill across the creek and grubbed for a living. At present, he was clearing a strip of land on an adjoining farm, and in returning to his hut, he crossed a corner of Brill's pasture. Brill idly watched him climb through the barbed wire fence and trudge along the path he had worn in the short, dry grass. He had been working at his present job for over a month now, chopping down tough, gnarly mesquite trees and digging up their incredibly long roots, and Brill knew that he always followed the same path home. And watching, Brill noted him swerving far aside, seemingly to avoid a low, rounded hillock which jutted above the level of the pasture. Lopez went far around this knoll, and Brill remembered that the old Mexican always circled it at a distance. And another thing came into Brill's idle mind. Lopez always increased his gait when he was passing the knoll, and he always managed to get by it before sundown. Yet Mexican laborers generally worked from the first light of dawn to the last glint of twilight, especially at these grubbing jobs, when they were paid by the acre and not by the day. Brill's curiosity was aroused. He rose, and sauntering down the slight slope on the crown of which his shack sat, hailed the plodding Mexican. "Hey, Lopez, wait a minute." Lopez halted, looked about, and remained motionless but unenthusiastic as the white man approached. "Lopez," said Brill lazily, "it ain't none of my business, but I just wanted to ask you, how come you always go so far around that old Indian mound?" "No sabe," grunted Lopez shortly. "You're a liar," responded Brill genially. "You savvy, all right. You speak English as good as me. What's the matter? You think that mound's haunted or something?" Brill could speak Spanish himself, and read it too, but like most Anglo-Saxons, he much preferred to speak his own language. Lopez shrugged his shoulders. "It is not a good place, no bueno," he muttered, avoiding Brill's eyes. "Let hidden things rest." "I reckon you're scared of ghosts," Brill bantered. "Shucks, if that is an Indian mound, them Indians been dead so long their ghosts would be plumb wore out by now."
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.